Bandwidth for this podcast is brought to you by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
Welcome back to MacBreak Studio. I'm your host, Mark Spencer, and I'm here today with Brian Gary.
How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Brian?
Fantastic.
All right. So what are we going to talk about today? Because you threw me for a lap the other week, so I have no idea what's going on.
That's right. Well, today we're not going to talk about compressor. We're going to talk about Final Cut. Because, you know, I produce and edit that show SpeedFreaks. And you run into a lot of times where you are running and gunning in SpeedFreaks. And for example, this clip right here that we're looking at is we went to the premiere of Fast and the Furious, and our host, Kenny Sargent on the right, is interviewing Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel.
Yes, on the left. And we were scheduled to have 2 camera operators. One of them flaked, didn't come. So we ended up only with an A camera.
Wait, you had a crew member not show up on a shoot?
Yes. Can you handle that?
I didn't know that happened.
I called his mother. No. But anyway, the producer who was there happened to have one of those Mino flip cameras.
Little flip guys, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he and the other camera person didn't really talk. And so he thought he was being helpful by shooting, which he was. But he just kept on turning on and off and on and off this camera.
So when the Vin Diesel was saying something, he was recording, but then he would turn it off when he stopped.
Yes, because he would like move to a different position and then start recording again. And so the idea of finding a sync point for 2 clips, meaning a camera and this Mino, is completely...
Okay, so basically you had dual system recording going on. You were shooting with one camera, recording the audio with another.
And no sync.
And if the audio was all one long file, you would only have to sync it once and the whole thing would be done, but it was a whole bunch of chopped up separate files.
Yes.
So you had a very, very long nights, weekends.
No, it happened almost instantly. I found this plugin, it's called PluralEyes. And what it does is, it actually is very intelligent. It looks at the audio waveform. So you have to have audio being captured by both devices. And I will say this, the flip camera, which I'll load one of those right in here. So I'll play this first. You see, Kenny, he's got a stick mic, so you can hear that there's people talking in the background, but obviously we've got good audio.
So you do have audio that was captured with an onboard microphone from the camera.
Yes, and now the
just
flip.
Not good audio.
Right, but now listen to the flip. I mean, see the people there screaming. You can kind of hear Vin Diesel, so I thought, well, I'll give this a try because I know the mechanics behind this plugin is that it's looking at the waveforms and trying to match the clips up based on the waveform.
Okay.
So obviously I have almost a worst case scenario here. It's a very loud environment
because the waveform it's trying to match to has not only Vin Diesel's voice, but all of this background noise of the crowd.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's actually quite simple to use. All you have to do is, the first thing is it's kind of like what Sonic Fire Pro and some of these other plugins do, is they're kind of going in and out of Final Cut with XML, which means you have to actually make sure your project is saved. So you come up here and you would save the project, and I'll just call this one, you know, Vin Diesel.
Well, I'd hope your project is saved.
Yes.
Hopefully that's not an extra step.
Yeah, that's right. And then you have to make sure that the sequence you're going to use is called PluralEyes.
Oh, it has to have that specific name. PluralEyes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So now what I'm going to do is I've got my sequence. I'm just going to take and on one layer, this is my A camera. So you can see I've got this whole sequence now is just one single shot from A camera.
Okay.
Now I'm going to take B camera, but because it's broken up into these 3 different shots, I'm just going to go on track 2, and I just have to drop them down. So you notice as I'm putting them down on track 2, I obviously have a shorter duration on track 2 than I have on track 1, and it's supposed to be of the same thing.
So these really should be spread out somewhere, but you don't know where.
Exactly.
And this is only 3, but you had like dozens of these.
Exactly.
Okay.
Across not only Vin Diesel's interview, but Justin Lin, the director, and some other actors, and it was pretty painful.
Huge job to try to synchronize those.
So now all I have to do is I have PluralEyes already launched, and since Final Cut is open, running, and I have my sequence PluralEyes, I just click on Sync. So it's going to go through, it's actually analyzing both sets of audio. It's looking at my HDV camera, which is A camera, looking at that audio. And then it's also going to go through and look at the 2.
And it's trying to identify Vin Diesel's voice in the other one with all the other noise going on and find out when he says a certain word in both of them. And the thing is, he could say that same word multiple times, so it could really get confused very easily, it seems.
It does. And one of the nice things is, if these were matched codecs, not only would it create the synced clip, but it would also create a multi-clip for me. Because I have mixed codecs here, that's part of one of the rules of, so you can see, it says finished, sync okay, but Final Cut disallows multi-clips with the codecs.
The codecs don't match.
So actually, if I did have, say, both ProRes or something, that would work.
Yeah, so you could have taken your stuff and transcoded it before putting it together.
Exactly, which I did with the flip media, but I didn't do it with the HDV.
Okay.
So here I go back, I'm going to do a little Shift Z to see all, and look, it drops it in.
So it spread them out.
Yep, and now if I play, sure, and what I can do is I can, I'll just turn off the audio tracks from the flip camera, and you can see he's nice and sync.
Okay.
So what I ended up doing is then I was able to go in and cut the sequence together, with some of the shots from the actual short that they're talking about. And now I have the illusion of this two cameras as I'm bouncing back and forth between a camera. And then when I cut to B camera,
the flip camera?
Yeah, and obviously the flip doesn't have the same resolution, so I threw on a little.
You kind of treated it to make it look stylized.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
So little magic bullet mojo and some framing and everything.
Nice.
So it's not like if you can't match the two, then make them look so completely, opposite of each other that you've created an effect.
Right.
And then that's it.
And the PluralEyes synced that perfectly on the first try.
First try.
All those things. Wow.
And I didn't have to. And what's nice is I installed it. They had a little setup movie. Followed those very simple instructions and hit sync.
Okay.
That's it.
So where do you get this PluralEyes? It's who makes it?
The PluralEyes, we're actually going to write it right here because I don't know. So right here you will see PluralEyes. And you can get it from their website. And again, it's an indispensable plugin, especially, this is almost the low end, but let's say you're doing digital SLR.
Right.
And you've got multiple digital SLRs, and you're coming in with different audio that's even non-sync because you can't jam sync any of these devices with a wonderful thing called time code.
That's right.
Same with this, a time code on a flip camera, not going to happen.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So where can we find out more about your training, whether it's Final Cut compressor or what have you?
Sure. The same place where we have your training, rippletraining.com. You do the motion, I do compressor, and I'm going to be doing some of these workflow type things. So stay tuned at Ripple Training. In addition to doing the compressor, I'm also going to be doing how to actually not just learn software, but to do things with the software. Just like in this episode where we had to fix a common problem in post.
Great. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Mark.
And thank you for watching MacBreak Studio.